Okay, so James Howells, Health and Wellbeing Manager for the Warrington Wolves Community Foundation. I'm joined today by Paul Clegg, who has been one of our riders for our annual fundraiser, where we cycle the length and breadth of the UK to raise much needed monies for our wonderful charity. So I'm going to ask Paul a couple of questions today about how he got involved in the foundation, his experiences of cycling, and unveil a little bit about what we're doing this year for our annual charity challenge. So, welcome, Paul, to the Halliwell Jones Stadium.
Thank you. Thanks, James.
So, Paul, last year was your first year of doing a charity fundraiser for us as the foundation. Can you describe a little bit about how you came to find out about us and the challenge that you undertook, which was 300 miles in 3 days?
I got involved through Neil Morley, and Neil works now for the council, Livewire, which is where my wife works. So it just came out in conversation between those two that I was a keen cyclist. Neil was getting involved in the foundation and its rides. Would I like to get involved? And yes, I would. So it stemmed from there. And it took a little. In fact, it seemed to take forever to get some acknowledgement after I expressed my interest to you, James, that the event was actually for real. But it was a long time in the planning, but it was excellent once it materialised.
We do like to keep our rides under wraps. Purely and simply because we want them to be a bit special. We want people who maybe have never undertaken a challenge for us to really get excited about it. And you definitely did.
I definitely fell into that camp. And in fact, I remember, not this time last year because we had done it this time last year, but at this stage in the lead up to the ride, my thoughts about it were largely about trepidation because although I'd been an avid cyclist, and none of my rides had been to the extent of a 100-mile ride. So I had some thoughts whether I could do a 100-miler, but I kind of knew I would. But then, of course, it's 3 in a row, 100 miles. Could I do 3 in a row? And I think I had that trepidation right up until the day. We did. Some self-training rides by myself. I did it was really useful. I did a ride with Neil, kind of acclimatisation, met a few other participants. And that was good. I should also add, I hadn't really much experience of the group riding, so that first ride was really useful to me. Then, of course, you were on the ride from Lancaster. I think that was counted as the Catalan stage, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
And that was great because it wasn't a 100-mile distance, but it was a chunky distance, about 100 Ks, that kind of thing. We had experience of riding in the group, people who would be involved in the main ride.
It's been interrupted by some army helicopters there, I think. Funnily enough, doing their training ride, or their training flights.
Yeah, so the ride from Lancaster was really the point where I thought, yes, I'm up for this. I like the people involved. The challenge seems to be attainable. So I just carried on plodding with my training and turned up, and we all did it, of course.
Fantastic. So, in terms of the experience of the event, you mentioned there previously done a lot of cycling, but not necessarily in terms of group challenges. You mentioned there being a bit kind of apprehensive and some trepidation about getting involved. What did you get out of that experience?
The ride itself?
Yeah.
Mostly it was about the camaraderie. It was a fantastic, self-support. Yeah, everybody was, there was a lot of people who had problems. And if you remember, I'm sure you do, even on the outset, the first 20 miles, there was punctures and bikes failing.
Buckled wheels.
And if I could offer any advice to anybody doing this, maybe for the first time, or even people looking to not repeat the same mistakes, check your bikes, honestly. Check your bike. Don't leave it till a day.
In the rider pack, there's
Yeah.
now a full paragraph around making sure that you get your bike serviced
I know.
because
Well, it doesn't need to be serviced in that sense because, that costs money, but it's quite easy to look after your bike yourself. And if anybody wants any help, I love doing it. So get in touch through James.
Fantastic. So, I mean,
but yeah, going back to that, so there's a camaraderie. In that experience where the bikes were failing, we all chipped in. We all had our own tools, or different tools, different levels of experience of how to make fixes. So yeah, it all helped everybody get to the back onto the ride itself.
so you mentioned there around kind of the different kind of challenges along the way. I think it's important to reinforce, isn't it, that again, yes, there are some people that cycle and enjoy it as a hobby and do lots of rides, but there's also some people that take part in these challenges that maybe are riding a bike in their early stages of kind of their cycling journey. So, kind of, can you tell kind of a little bit about kind of the I guess the variety of people that were on that ride last year?
It's a good point, and it's part of the reasons why I had some trepidation. Would it be fast enough to stay in the group? But in reality, we did the initial stages. I remember it as one big group, and then I think it was around we got to Lee and we split into two groups. In each of those groups had a road captain. And I got to say that the role of that road captain was key to keeping everybody together. There was no intention to race it, but the pace, sure enough, I found it tough at times, but there was Gav was our leader on the road. He was at the back. We had what's his name? Metronome Norman, the metronome. He was at the front, relentlessly setting the pace. And it was always a call from the back, Gav saying, take a few clicks off Norman, please. Slow the pace down. Everybody rode together. And Gav was really good at that. He was keen for everybody to keep in the wheels because it would make it easier for everybody, for one thing. Keeps the group together, keeps the social camaraderie bits going. And we had plenty of rest stops, which is important. People, 100 miles is a big distance.
Yeah.
But nobody doing this for the first time needs to think that you go on your bike and you get off again 100 miles later, because that's just not the case. Maybe you probably remember better than me, but 20, 30 miles was a typical stint.
Yeah.
Meet the truck. Matt had his mobile disco going at the side of the road, which was something I remember. So there's plenty of rest stops. Get your nutrition, get your hydration sorted out, ready for the next step.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say anybody would have to have any fears about either keeping a pace or being too fast even. Yeah. Just ride at the pace that suits the group.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, because I think that's a really important message that we want to give to people is, yes, it is a cycling challenge, but there's a reason it's called a challenge, because what we're trying to encourage people to do is maybe look and achieve things that they didn't think they were capable of doing. Which is why this year we've got the two events combined into one. So our first day is going to be a cycle from Halliwell Jones to the seaside. We're going to Blackpool to have some fish chips and probably a stick of rock, and then turn round and come back. And then from that, on days 2, 3 and 4, we are cycling all the way to watch the Warrington Wolves play London Broncos at the Cherry Red Record Stadium over in Wimbledon. So again, like you say, anyone that's interested can just drop us a line here at the foundation and ask any questions of me or yourself, and we can definitely support people to take on a challenge like this.
Yeah, just maybe something to get in. I've started to organise some training rides for anybody who's interested. We did one before the Tour of Britain race, which I think you're going to come on to. But yeah, anybody who's interested in joining one of those training rides, it's, as I've said, how it helped me last year, both in terms of riding in a group, keeping a pace, meeting the people you'll be riding with. They all help on the day.
Absolutely, and on those training rides, I think it is probably the most important thing for me is there's always a stop for coffee.
That's with every ride.
So you mentioned the Tour of Britain there. Your kind of journey, really, or your association with us as a charity, hasn't stopped when that ride finished.
No.
You were selected or invited, really, to, based on kind of your commitment to us, to be kind of part of a select group of people that rode the finish line at the Tour of Britain. So tell us a little bit about what that involved and what an experience that was for you as an avid cycle fan.
It was great because I am a admirer of professional cyclists, both the male and the females, because they're just superb athletes, much almost beyond imagination to what we can do. And so on the day, it started quite early. Met Ben here in the stadium. Met another rider, Nick, a bit further down the road. Adele over towards Knutsford. So there was, was that five of us? We did, it was an opportunity because the Tour of Britain was, stage 3 was Warrington to Warrington. There was an opportunity to ride part of the course. So we did the route out to Knutsford and then skipped the bit that went out towards Alderley Edge and came back through Highley and back to Warrington. So that was a good warm-up ride. That was about 45 miles thereabouts. And as you pointed out, we had the opportunity then to ride the finishing line, which was a great opportunity. Unfortunately, it was only Ben had to drop out. He couldn't. It was his birthday, so forgive him for that.
Yeah, we can definitely forgive him for that.
Happy birthday, Ben. Yeah, so it was. There was some stipulations with it. Unfortunately, we weren't allowed to cross the actual finishing line, right, which I had all rehearsed in my mind. That was going to interfere with the race timing. So, but it's just up and down. But yeah, to be on the track that the athletes were about to do a fantastic sprint on was a fantastic opportunity.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much for representing the foundation on that.
Didn't need persuading.
Well, that kind of, again, takes us forward to kind of your ongoing kind of relationship with us here as a charity, because you're one of the first to sign up for this year's Tower to Tower event, which takes us down to London. But actually, cycling's more than just about you now, isn't it? It's become a bit of a family affair, which I think goes a few years back. So tell us a little bit about kind of how cycling is seen within the family and kind of their relationship with it.
Well, we've always we've always been cyclists, but more recreational, with the emphasis on mostly involved riding to a pub on a weekend. But a turning point was, when the COVID situation arose, and like everybody, we were only given limited opportunity to venture outdoors, and were encouraged to exercise at the most once daily. So we used cycling to take that opportunity. So we were going out almost every day, doing some form of riding, sometimes twice a day, depending on who could make what particular ride. But it was great. We got all 4 of us on the road. My wife got a road bike for the first time, crashed it on her maiden voyage.
Oh no! Oh, we've all been there.
That we kept that up all the way through with COVID. And our 2 sons both, once the situation resolved itself, kind of drifted away. But I would say my youngest son Owen, he was the most keen. We did some, long rides for him with his level of experience. I thought he might have kept it, but he decided otherwise. He was still young man.
But he's going to join us this year.
He's going to join the Blackpool first day. Yes, yeah. Although he did, after he signed it, he did realise that it was a there and back journey.
There's no backing out now, though. He's nailed down.
As I've already explained, it's not a race. No. It's well within anybody's capability as long as it's paced correctly, which I know it will be. And given the range of experiences on that first day, I would imagine it to be a slower pace than the subsequent days. So yeah, it is 100 miles. It's a good challenge, but well within his capability.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to continue. I will continue to encourage him to do at least some training. But he's young and fit.
Well, thank you very much.
And my wife, just to continue that journey, she's the only one really who's kept up any cycling continuity with me.
Right.
We had a cycling holiday in Mallorca New Year this year, and we'll be doing the same or similar, not the same, but similar in September this year.
Brilliant.
So we're looking forward to that.
Oh, so cycling is I guess part of your DNA, really, isn't it, in terms of the family now? I
wouldn't say as far as that, but yeah, like I say, we've always done some form of cycling. Yeah. I think it's true, but maybe not to the extent you say.
Yeah. Well, I guess that brings us to kind of this year's event a little bit, and you've mentioned kind of some of the emotional kind of benefits of getting involved in a ride like this. It's good for people's well-being in terms of kind of camaraderie and the connections. Clearly, it's good for people's physical health as well, and actually the social health of people who come together, because again, what I have noticed about our rides is that the friendships continue long beyond the actual event themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once you're part of the magic fraternity, it's a lifetime commitment. But you get out of it what you put in, and I enjoyed it so much. I was buzzing for weeks after we finished the Newcastle ride last year. So to keep it going, I set up a Strava group to give up people the opportunity to meet roughly once a month to do a ride. But we did it for a few months, and then the winter came and it drifted off. But I'm trying to pick it up again this year to get people into the training regime. Well, as you know, I've got the next opportunity, if anybody does want to join us, is to do the whole ladies Tour of Britain route in 29th of June, just 2 weeks away. Or is it next week?
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
I know you can't make it.
I can't make it. No, I'm otherwise engaged next week in warm weather training in Tenerife. So yeah.
But going back to your question, I think you're right. Once once you become involved in the foundation and the community it fosters, it's it's great to feel that it continues beyond the the event that you became involved in.
Yeah, and I guess kind of there's no kind of hiding the fact that these events are there to raise funds for us as a charity, and you're starting to see now some of the impacts of the monies that you have raised over the last 12 months for us as a foundation. What can you say about the foundation as an organisation? I guess just in terms of maybe your knowledge of us before you got involved, how you were made to feel when you were involved, and how you talk about the foundation now, having been involved in a couple of events with us.
Yeah, I have to admit, when I got involved last year, I had to look up the work that the foundation does, and it's it's all good stuff. But I was a memorable thing for me is so when we got to Newcastle, some of us came straight back, others stayed behind and partied a little bit longer. I came back on the bus. What I didn't realise is that the bus was primarily to bring back some of the young people who were the beneficiaries of the foundation's spending, and they were absolutely buzzing on that coach. And the few of us who had ridden the event were really just waiting to get our heads down. But honestly, the atmosphere was electric, and they were all describing to us. They'd played on the pitch at St James's Park and saying, "Did you see me score that try?" And with a little white light, said, "Yeah, it was amazing. Well done." And they were so enthused by the experiences they've been given. I think more than anything that has made me realise that the work that the foundation does. But of course, it's more than that one day. It continues, and I think anybody who wants to find out what the foundation does, just use the social media. The Instagram is the way I look at it. It's all on there.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. Again, you're joining us for this year's event, and hopefully anyone that's watching this that's been inspired by you and your story will log on and sign up for our day one, which is Warrington to Blackpool and back again.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think you did have to break that to your son that it wasn't.
He found out for himself.
So yeah, we want to get as many people involved in this particular event as possible, and if your experiences are anything to go by, then everyone else that joins in will become enthused and want to raise money for us as well. So thanks for your time today.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Cheers.